Good day, you guys. The video I'm making today is on MangoHud. It's a monitoring tool I use on Linux in games on Steam, and it works. So thus far, it's been working great. There's just a few issues that I had with it. First of all, power on the Zen CPUs didn't work out of the box. On Fedora KDE, the Nubara one as well as, or at least on the Nubara one, it worked out of the box for Fedora 42. And I think, I'm not entirely sure, but this Zen power is needed, at least if you want to manually fix it. So I'm using Zen power on a Fedora 42 with the GNOME desktop environment. I had to install this one by myself and it works. So at least, well, this is the Ubuntu one. I don't remember if there was a write-up on the GitHub for the for Fedora, but I did get it to work. It did install. I can't remember if I used the DNF to get it to work, but at least Zen Power for Ubuntu, I couldn't get it to work. I did also, while going through all these steps, did this bit here, and unfortunately it did switch off the temperature sensor in MangoHud when the overlay was on, but luckily you can reverse it where you don't need to use this first step, but at least if you go the sudo mod probe and instead of putting Zen power in, you're using K10 temp again, you can switch that sensor on and then temperature shows again. I'll actually show that later on to show that it is now working. So yeah, Zen power is what I use to get to show the power in MangoHud. And so again, I can't really speak for this write-up in GitHub on Zen power, but Zen power I did use to show power, at least for the Fedora distros. This write-up on MangoHud, it works. It works for both Ubuntu and Fedora. I just want to see if there is a bit here that I wanted to cover just to, the apt install for Ubuntu, this works. No problem there, as well as the DNF install. Again, it works. So if you go that route and you, well, I would say follow the write-up to get the installation going, that works. The only other thing I want to point out, there is you are going to need to make a config file of some sort. And I just want to find, I guess I could have done this earlier. Oh, right, here we go. So that's well, you don't really need this, but within config, let me just show you the file. So if you go home, I don't remember if this was one of the hidden files, but to show hidden files, you go here and just show hidden files. On Fedora, there's a similar way to go about showing hidden files. And then within config, you make a MangoHud file. Now, I have seen people go this route where you have the capital M and capital H. There's also others who did this not using capital letters here and it worked for them. I continue to do this because this works for me. So I don't want to say it's an either or situation, but this is what works for me, so I'll carry on doing it this way. This is the only file that you really need in here, the CONF format file. Okay, it's easy enough to make one of your own. Let me see if I can do this. It's not new folder, but if you use a text editor, I just want to make sure. Oh, is it? Are you now going to show it like this in? Oh, it's because I'm on Ubuntu and I actually thought this was the other one, Fedora. So if you use a text editor, something I'm not finding at the moment. There we go. If you just open one of these, as you can see, it now defaulted into this. But yeah, use the text editor, dump the content from here. You basically copy paste all of this into that text file, rename it, it works. And then yeah, so that dump then goes into that config MangoHud file. That's now this. I did make another file. This is now that bit that you paste into Steam to have it run on a game. I'll also show you that. It's now, if I pull this over to this side, it's manage properties and hereby launch options. That's where that little command goes. Let me just move this back. Right, as far as prepping goes, that's basically it. I am now going to show you in game just a few of the simple shortcuts, as well as changing values inside of this config file does change in game. So I'm just going to launch the game here. Also may use Valheim as an example. Hopefully this doesn't now create audio artifacting. Also, I didn't do this. Oh, so that'll do. So as you can see, it's showing the temperature of the CPU. That's the bit that I needed to fix after trying to install ZenPower on Ubuntu. It didn't work. As you can see, the power for CPU is not showing. So if I now, for instance, want to go, okay, I tried to put ZenPower on Ubuntu, it didn't work. As well as you can see, the power's not showing. You can then, if you want to remove those, go in here, and it's now CPU temperature and power, and just add a hash or a dash. I'm not completely sure what it's called. Close it, do a save, and if I go back into the game, you'll see it's removed at the top there. Just if I can get the mouse, as you can see here, the power that wasn't showing is now removed, as well as temperature. I can then also just go back in here and just take away these. Save again. Go back into the game, and as you can see, it's restored. In the case that you are streaming or doing a recording or something and you don't actually want that overlay on, you can press right shift F12 to remove it. Oh look, I'm being attacked. I don't care. Carrying on. The other thing that's also really nice about MangoHud, the one thing that I use a lot for it is if you use left shift F1, and as you can see I'm swapping through a set frame rate. So that's 60 FPS, there's 50 FPS, that is 30 FPS, this is 165 FPS, that is unchecked FPS. It's like back in the day if you were to switch VSync off, and there's back to 120. So the reason why I use that function, a lot of times, or at least it's something that I saw that happens in Linux, where from one distro to another, you'll find that, say for instance, adaptive sync isn't working, or for some reason trying to do a VSync on a game after an update is now not working. And if you use that frame rate limiter, you can actually just do that for all games then. And then you don't have to go into each game individually and try and set up a failed VSync or getting adaptive sync to work. Any of that sort of mucking about going from game to game. You can just have a universal setting and then stick to it. Now, I have a couple of settings, and this is actually for power saving. If I can just scroll up here and find it. As you can see hereby, limit the application FPS. So I have, like I said, 120, 60, 50, 30, 165, and then a 0, which is uncapped frame rate. These are actually nice. So instance, here by us, we are off the grid. We are on what do you call it? An inverter with battery. So for instance, when it's early mornings, the sun's not up yet, and you don't want to use a large amount of power, but you still want to, say, play a game, I can just use that shift F1, swap through the frame rates up to, say, something like 50 or 30, run the game like that until the sun comes up, or if it's, say, cloudy, whatever. It really works nice for those sort of situations. As you can see, you do have the option to force things like adaptive sync and VSync. I think this is the NVIDIA ones. No, this is GL. Anyway, there is a lot of things that you can set through this config file. I have an issue where after install of MangoHud, copying pasting this, I get the default layout on MangoHud in-game. So to not go and set up this config file from scratch every time, I just saved these two folders, the Steam paste and then the MangoHud config file, to Google Cloud. So every time when I do this, I basically go into config, create a MangoHud file, and then paste these two in, and it works, which is convenient. Okay, well, that's basically it for MangoHud as far as what I wanted to discuss on it. I wanted to add a bit where I was talking about using Linux for 6 months, but I sort of think that's more opinion piece, who really cares. I must say Linux up to this point has worked nice. There is a lot of tinkering from time to time, and I can figure that normies don't want to do that sort of work just to get games to work, for instance. And I do understand that. But as a replacement for Windows, it's been working for me. I can say in the last 6 months, I've gone through 2 shootings, a breakup, and Windows fully saturating the home internet connection for Windows updates was definitely the most annoying thing to happen in those 6 months. And yeah, I hope this was helpful and enjoy the rest of your day.